We always build for a specific family, and usually once we've selected a family, we select a lot for them. The struggle that I had trying to find another lot was all-consuming for a while. So at one point, I just went to Zach and Elizabeth. I called them up and I said, I'm really sorry, but we're going to have to put your build on the back burner because the only lot I have available is the 4th Street lot. And they were aware of that lot. They'd looked at it. I got a response back that night, and they said that they felt like God was calling them to live on 4th Street. And I was overjoyed, of course. So we started the process very shortly after. I was supposed to be in the office being the executive director at the time, but I spent an awful lot of time down at that job site.
My name is John Parks. I'm the executive director for GCHabitat for Humanity. We're celebrating 25 years as an affiliate, and this is our 37th house that we are starting right now. This week we had a great group of volunteers from Kewaskum, Wisconsin come in and join us for the week. This is their 3rd year of working here with us. They're a great group of young people and adult volunteers, and they really moved the project forward this week. We started out Monday morning. We basically had a swimming pool to deal with, and a lot of us were not sure that we would be able to move this project any farther forward, but today we have footings poured, which means we can start building basement walls. I'd also like to introduce Elizabeth Peterson. Elizabeth, she and her husband Zach and their 5 children will be moving into this house sometime, hopefully around Thanksgiving.
That's the hope.
This is Elizabeth.
Hi.
Elizabeth has just been a joy to work with. She's always got a great positive attitude, even when the chips are down. She was initially not drawn to this property, but you can tell us how that developed in your own words.
Well, we just really felt like God was calling us here and to bring some new life to the neighborhood and to hopefully bring some positivity over here as well.
After we dug the hole, we came back the next day and the hole had about 1 foot of water in it. And it was spring, so we knew that there would be groundwater and it would dry out, except it didn't. And we put pumps in there and we pumped the water out, and we'd come back the next day and it was full again. We struggled with that, and we had youth groups coming to town, but we were pretty concerned that we wouldn't have anything for the first church to do. And I said, if you decide to continue with your trip, I said, at the very least, bring mud boots, because it's going to be muddy. And I'll never forget what Karen said. She said, well, we're kind of at your mercy, and you're going to have to use us however you see fit. And I thought, well, okay. I knew we'd be down there in the mud grubbing with them, and we were. It was a mud hole. We pumped it all out, and then we started trucking gravel to the site. And we put wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow down into that hole and spread it around till we finally forced enough of the water out that we could create footings. So they got it to the point of footings poured, and we started building basement walls. So that was the first stage and the first youth group. Then we had a second youth group come in, and that group basically framed the beginning of the house. He got it to the frame portion. I think he even got maybe trusses up on the house with that youth group. And then we had a third youth group come in from St. Louis, Missouri, and they were there 2 weeks. So the way we tell it is that basically that was a house that was built by youth groups. But there was also, at that time, there was a tremendous outpouring of support from the community. They're very active and integrated, so they had a huge support network, and the people just came out of the woodwork. I would like to go back and count the hours on that project, but there were tons and tons of volunteer hours, and Zach and Elizabeth were there as well. Truth be told, Tom, they're all miracles to me. Anytime you get a house built with volunteers, that's a miracle. I was a builder for 20 years before I started working for Habitat. When I first looked at the whole scenario, I thought, oh man, how do they ever get a house built? But it happens every year. And but I would say, first of all, the Petersons took a leap of faith to move into that neighborhood. It has not been an easy neighborhood to live in, but they have been a huge positive influence on that end of Red Wing. Their attitude about the whole thing just made it a wonderful project. They just kept such positivity going. They never complained about anything, and they got down in the mud and grubbed with us too. I think the other thing that made it unique was just the struggle we had with water. We do have water problems often in the spring, when we go to build, but this one, it turns out the aquifer, there's groundwater in that area. Most of the basements in that area are not as deep as the Petersons' basement. So we had to work overtime to waterproof that thing and to get the water pumped out. So, that there's an ejection pump that's pumping probably today to get water out of their basement. And they have a dry basement. And the other thing about that is basements are critical for us. I mean, we call them lower levels at Habitat. They're not basements. They're finished. They have egress windows, and we have bedrooms there. So you can't just wing it and hope the basement stays dry. You have to make sure that basement is bone dry. So we had to do some extra things with the Peterson job. These 3 youth groups coming to town and they were really gratified of what they got done. And we usually have some kind of celebratory picnic towards the end of their tenure with us. And boy, there was high praise for those kids that night. And we were pretty pumped up and every group that came just really did an amazing thing. I would have never believed that kids could accomplish what they did.
We started with a hole full of water in late May. And we pumped out the water, and it rained and it filled back up again. And we pumped it out again, and it filled back up again. So our first youth group showed up here in mid-June with a hole full of water. That's what they came to. And by the end of July, two youth groups later, we had the foundation, the frame of the house, and the garage built. It was nothing short of miraculous.